Has anyone died from your school? If so, how did they die, and how did it make you feel? A friend of mine went on a 30-day backpacking trip to Denali with a group just after the end of his junior year. He was already an experienced winter hiker before the trip. This was a training outing for bigger hikes on bigger mountains and other parts of the world. He disappeared one night when the group was camping on near a glacier field. He was just gone. No struggle, nothing amiss, just gone. They never found his body. The best guess of what happened was that he went to pee or maybe get water in the middle of the night, but was so groggy he forgot to put on his crampons, slipped on the ice, and slid into one of the cracks in the glacier, fell hundreds of feet into the almost frozen meltwater at the bottom, and eventually washed out to sea. I have always hoped that he hit his head on the ice when falling. The thought that he might have slid for a few seconds, only to feel the falling sensation for a while before understanding that he was about to die, well, that terrifies me. One of my classmates died of a ruptured aneurysm when I was 12. It was quite a shock to realize someone my age could just die. I'd lost my grandmother 3 years earlier in a car accident, but she was old people are supposed to die eventually. Kids you go to class with, on the other hand, that was difficult to come to term with. Yeah, dude. Some kid I worked with, super fit and healthy, only 19. He just didn't come into work one day. He died the previous night. No reason as far as anyone would reveal. My guess is still probably drug-related, but some people have defects in their major organs that just go undiagnosed their whole lives until it kills them. A friend from college died this past year for me. He didn't make it to 25. Had a seizure out of nowhere, no history, and collapsed. On the way down he hit his head and died of brain swelling. We had the same birthday too. It was weird celebrating, knowing that he wouldn't see it. We hadn't even talked in like 2 years BC. He transferred to another college like an hour and a half away. My best friend committed suicide. It was devastating. He didn't say anything and he seemed so happy. He messaged me asking if I had some charcoal to BBQ the night before it happened. When they found him he had attempted carbon asphyxiation by putting charcoal in a garbage can and burning it in his garage. That didn't work, so he tried his car too, and it didn't work as well, so he shot himself. He tried getting me to bring him the charcoal he wanted to kill himself with. And my other friend was the one who bought him the shotgun rounds because he wanted to go hunting. Depression doesn't always have the most obvious signs. What made me feel the worst though is people who never talked to him. Even the super popular who had made fun of him and acted like he didn't exist went to his funeral and were telling people how they cared for him so much and wished they could have helped. It made me sick. In high school one of my friends hung himself. We were in complete shock. TBH, I'm still shocked and it's been 20 years. He was a very funny, happy-go-lucky kid. Rip Phil. Also had a friend hang herself in 9th grade. My nephew is now that age and I can't even fathom that. That's what passed me off the most. A friend of mine died senior year. While he was alive we were cool and hung out a lot, but were never really close. People would talk a lot of shit about him. Nothing super mean, just kind of picking on him. I guess it was more friendly shit talk than anything. I'm not one to do that and never did. Once he died everyone in the whole school acted so differently. People who never hung out or just talked shit, not the fun kind, but the mean kind, acted like they were best friends. It was fucked up. I stopped talking to a lot of people after that because I saw them for what they truly were. Pieces of shit. Sorry for your loss, man. Same here. My childhood best friend committed suicide when we were 17. I had moved away a few years prior due to the bullying she and I both experienced. Her family moved a year after I did, so we didn't go to high school together. At her funeral I saw those same assholes who had bullied us in grade school, telling everyone how they were so shocked and how they never knew someone that close to them could do such a thing. I've never angry cried so hard in my life. These people are honestly just trying to lie to themselves to convince themselves that they were better people than they actually were. They'll know truth deep down. And you'll always know it too. I had a similar experience in high school. A good friend of mine was murdered at a party on a Friday night. The following Saturday and Sunday people were on Facebook and Twitter making posts like "This week is going to be so hard to get through," or "I don't think I'll ever get over this." And then when I saw these same people on Monday morning they were laughing, yelling, fighting in the hallways before class. It was like these people who were so devastated on social media didn't give a shit about my friend's death in real life. Meanwhile you could tell certain people were truly struggling to get through the days after that. And I understand that everybody deals with tragedy in different ways, and for some people that's making jokes or goofing off as a sort of defense mechanism. But the thing I took away most from that is that a lot of people act the way they think they're supposed to act during certain situations for attention, rather than being honest with themselves. One of my classmates drowned while trying to save his brother. His mother called me to let me know. That was one heart-wrenching conversation. Rest in peace, but did the brother die too? No, he managed to save his brother but couldn't make it himself. I'm 16, went on holiday last year and I'm a very good strong swimmer. My cousin who can't swim, 8, jumped in the pool for some reason. And it was deep. Deeper than me. He started paddling but couldn't float, so I jumped in to help and shouted at his dad to help me as I jumped. Instead he didn't help and I went in, but he hit me a lot while trying to push his way up and he was already above the water. It got to the point where I really struggled to resurface and had to let go of him so I could get another breath and pushed him to the side so I could hang on to the side and hold him. It was awful and I didn't go in the pool for the rest of the day. I felt sick and lightheaded after that and I was very annoyed for some reason. It quit. Funny enough though, a few days later on the holiday I went to get my open water diving license. When I was 14 my best friend died. We were doing sports at school and during the warm-up she fell backwards and smacked her head on the floor. She was still conscious but extremely dazed. The teacher ran to call an ambulance and I held her until they came. When she got to hospital she was put in an induced coma to try and stop the swelling on the brain. A week later her mom and brother had to make the decision to switch her life support machine off as there was too much brain damage. She was an amazing person and I still miss her 19 years later. The last thing she said to me was, "Is my hair still okay?" Those are the best last words ever. I'm sorry for your loss. Her last words literally broke my heart. Is my hair still okay? The words are just such a jab at how young she was. Such a 14-year-old girl thing to say. She didn't even know what was coming. I'm so sorry for your loss, even if it is 19 years later. A new girl joined my homeroom group one year and hung out with myself and my 3 other friends every recess and we showed her around the school, taught her how the school worked and things like that. She was a boarder at the school because I think her parents worked overseas. After maybe 8 weeks at the school, she died overnight from a sudden diabetic low as she was type 1 diabetic. Girl from my school got shot in the neck. By her dad who was cleaning his rifle in the kitchen. Mom and dad sold the house, pretty sure divorce happened too. They moved away. Another girl got murdered on New Year's Eve. It was freezing out, she just needed warmth. Found the wrong person to ask for help. Wow, those are both heartbreaking. My school had a small line of trees out the front with each tree representing a student from the school that had died. I believe most if not all were from car crashes. I still remember the silence in the classroom after one of these crashes. I didn't personally know the girl, but there were other kids that were hit pretty hard. That's sweet of your school to do that for your past classmates, but also sad. In 3rd grade, a girl in my class was hit by a car while trick-or-treating on Halloween night. Her parents were devastated. One day she was there and the next she wasn't. My class has lost quite a few to suicide and a couple to odds, but the one that sticks with me most actually happened once we graduated. One of my classmates got married and moved to Missouri with her husband. They quickly had 4 kids. I watched as her life progressed on Facebook and I'm genuinely happy for her. They're getting ready for a vacation. They never make it. All 6 die in a car crash on the way there. Her husband, and her 4 kids under 6, the youngest one only 8 months old. Maybe it's the fact that the young kids died that gets me the most, but I remember how weird it was after the fact because I'd seen her posts a lot as they prepared for the trip. Then suddenly, they all just stopped. It is so surreal when you're following someone who just dies. I was supposed to meet up with a casual friend in a city like 45 minutes away. We planned it out and everything like a week in advance. Dude was an avid motorcycle rider, he basically lived on his crotch rocket. Saw him posting pics of his bike that morning going for a short ride. I arrived in the city in the afternoon, tried to contact him, no answer. Figured he might still be on his bike. Checked his Facebook, it's flooded with memorial posts. He'd been hit while riding and died at the scene. Got a hotel that night and just dissociated for a few hours. The most amazing math teacher started missing days, escalating taking leaves for doctor's appointments because of cataracts. One day he left early and never came back. It turned out that the doctor's appointment were trips to radiation and chemotherapy and that his cataracts were tumors in his eyes that had metastasized into stage 4 brain, spine and liver cancer. He was an angel of a human. Every time the class had to take tests he'd give out dumb lollipops. He could have stopped teaching and taken sick leave, he could have used his life savings to travel a farewell life vacation, but instead, even dying he spent his last months, weeks, down to days teaching his students. He was a true hero. A lot of memories of him make me cry, but none compare to the 5 minutes before he left. As the principal took over the class, he stood at the front of the classroom and said, "I'm going to be taking some time off. You might get some sad news. Sometimes the world isn't the fairest place, like sometimes how your parents might blame you for something your sibling did, but please remember it's not any of your faults. Please don't be scared or sad, it's a happy vacation with my mom and I know it's coming. While I'm gone, please promise me something. Promise you'll be good." The whole class promised. He gave us each a hug and left. 3 days later. He succumbed to cancer in his sleep. Even now, in our 20s, of the classmates I still talk to, none of them can eat dum-dum lollipops without crying.